The quantum wealth theory is an alternate approach to financial literacy because I realized in my experience with the finance degrees and the corporate finance experience that technical financial literacy or the technical knowledge is not enough to have somebody change their financial trajectory.
Why is that?
Because the mindset, as cliche as it sounds, the mindset is absolutely crucial to being able to action on the knowledge or the literacy that you've learned.
Welcome to Rhythm of Life. I'm Steve Ordower. This is the second episode of our limited series about the All-Black National Convention that was held just outside of Chicago in Lombard, Illinois in October of 2024, spearheaded by Dr. Boyce Watkins. Over 60 experts from around the world came to share their wisdom over 3 days on topics such as economics, education, health, politics, and spirituality with the aim of empowering the Black community. I was able to sit down with one of the speakers at the convention, Asia Kuykendall, about her approach to managing one's finances and building wealth based on creating empowering beliefs and behaviors with respect to money.
If your belief in your head is that I want to make more money, you believe you want to make more money, but subconsciously you were programmed to believe money is the root of all evil, you have cognitive dissonance. And ultimately, we're going to talk about how powerful the subconscious mind is, because ultimately that's going to win over every time.
So when you say the technical aspect, what do you mean by that?
So how does a credit score work?
Okay.
How do loan or credit cards work?
Okay.
You can know that and know how it's beneficial to you, whether in business or just elevating your life.
Okay.
But if your mindset is fixed in a place where you believe that debt is bad, or that that won't work for you because of where you come from, then that knowledge isn't going to help because you're not going to take the steps to actually utilize it.
Well, why isn't that? I mean, that seems like it should be bad. I mean, why isn't it bad?
It depends on how you use it.
Okay.
If I can borrow $1,000 in order to have an equipment machine to produce products that will make me $2,000, is that bad?
I'd say no, but that's a really good example. Yeah, so a lot of people are what you're saying, I guess in essence, is they have a preconceived notion of what's good and bad, and they're locked into their perspectives, and they don't allow those perspectives inhibit them from growing.
Yes, and a good way to look at it, particularly with the debt conversation, it's destructive debt, and then there's productive debt.
Ah, that's a great distinction. Go on.
Yes, so destructive debt is purchasing things that don't increase in value, purchasing things that don't enhance your life or have the ability to produce income for you.
But my nice shoes enhance my life. I mean, they make my feet feel better.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with that?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
So quantum wealth, what it's all about is understanding that what people want when they say they want more money or when they're striving to enhance their financial lives, they don't want green paper or digits on a computer screen. They want experiences. They want a feeling. They want love, peace, joy, and freedom.
Okay.
So in the example of your shoes, maybe those shoes you think that'll give you peace because they make your feet comfortable. Or you think that they'll give you some sort of status because that's what everybody respects, the type of shoe, whatever your reason is for buying the shoe. It may not be for what you think it is because we have these subconscious drivers of our behavior. And if we don't reflect on why you do the things you do, particularly with spending money, then you'll be perpetuating this belief system that you don't even realize you have. So money is the root of all evil. Who's heard of that? Who knows where it really comes from? For the love of money is the root of all evil. I don't know what scripture that is. I'm going to find out for next time, I promise. But it's in the Bible, and we just, like any good game of telephone, got misinterpreted along the way. Another one, debt is bad. Who's heard that one? So the idea we talk about in the book is there's productive debt or there is destructive debt. And again, because you're unique, what's destructive to you may not be destructive to me. Let's say I have a fashion business and I'm looking for brand partnerships. I may want to go out on a limb and maybe charge some items of clothing because I know that's going to get me in front of the brands that want to put me on and ultimately pay me. So the idea is productive debt is going to help you either increase in value or generate more income or revenue. Versus destructive debt, they decrease in value. They're not adding any future income to your life.
Let me just let that marinate for a minute, because Dr. Boyce Watkins talks about the subconscious mind with his wife, Dr. Asia Watkins, who's a clinical licensed therapist. And that's really powerful, the subconscious mind. Oftentimes people really don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. And, a lot of times Dr. Watkins will say, yeah, like, why are you trying to, buy this thing to purchase your self-esteem? And I think that really plays a role in what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
So basically the crux of what you're doing is getting people to distinguish these patterns and try to transform them?
Yeah. So that's the first step. So the quantum wealth theory, it uses neuroscience to understand what drives our behavior.
Oh.
We have certain innate qualities as humans that make us want to avoid pain and seek pleasure. Right. So it's the neuroscience, it's the behavioral psychology. Oh. And sometimes that looks like, if you go back to the example when people were cavemen or hunters and gatherers, however you want to look at it, there was a certain part of the brain that was designed to perceive threats. Mm-hmm. Even if your conscious mind didn't see the bushes rustling that could have been the saber-toothed tiger, your subconscious mind picked up on that signal and created a certain physiological state that allowed you to either fight, flight, run from that tiger, or freeze.
Okay.
And so while today we may not have those same stressors or triggers, that response still goes off in our brain. And so whether that's you getting an email from your boss, saying we need to sit down and talk, or, somebody in your family sends you something that makes those trigger responses come up, then it has us behaving in ways that we may not realize why we're doing that. We're talking about keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
We talk about history and the psychology of money, which is a great book where he walks through the history of when consumer credit was introduced to the masses after World War II.
Wait, could you say the title of the book again?
The Psychology of Money.
The Psychology of Money.
By Morgan Housel.
Okay, and so go on, please.
So he talks about during World War II, where all the men went abroad to go fight the war, they were producing a lot of materials for the war. So once they came back, there weren't a lot of jobs for these men once the war was over. And so we had a surplus of products that needed to be sold. And so they allowed for consumer credit to be introduced to the masses. And so we have these housewives who are now saying, I deserve to be as rich, the American dream, as the Joneses down the street. So now these housewives can buy appliances, vacuum cleaners, dishwashers on credit, even if they couldn't necessarily afford it because they wanted to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
The third thing, neuroscience, behavioral psychology. The third thing is quantum physics, which is the study of energy at the very subatomic level. When it comes down to it, every single thing in our universe is made of energy. This microphone that we're talking on, the tables, our body's skin cells made of energy, held together by certain frequency. Just like our thoughts and feelings and ideas that we have also emit an energy signature. And so when we honor that and recognize that our ability to focus on our finances, pay attention, there's a concept called the observer effect in quantum physics, where they saw that when you pay attention to something, it will change the behavior, if nothing else. Classic physics say you drop an apple from a tree, it will fall down to the ground, and you can calculate how fast it'll get there because it's classic physics. But quantum physics is so wonky that they're still studying it because things don't behave as you thought they would. If I use that same example, you drop the apple from the tree, you expect it to fall straight down, but it goes to the left or something. It's behaving in ways that we didn't think would happen. And so one more example, you talk about water, steam, and ice.
Okay.
It's made of the same particle makeup, H2O, but what's the difference?
It's form, I guess.
The vibrational frequency of the energy of the H2O. And so saying all that to say, there is more that goes into what impacts our finances than just saving 6 months for emergency fund and knowing how to use your credit card.
Absolutely. Oh, well, that's really, really interesting. So the neuroscience, though, I mean, how is that being analyzed for what you're doing? I mean, I understand neuroscience is the science of the brain and the neurons in the brain, I would imagine, and the synapses and all that and the construction thereof. I mean, is there any specifics that you talk about?
Yeah. So specifically, we could talk about dopamine.
Okay.
Okay.
Go on. Yeah.
So dopamine.
Dope man.
So dopamine and spending. Dopamine is a chemical that our body produces that translates feelings of happiness and pleasure. And so our nervous system uses that to send those signals to our feelings. So because who doesn't want more happiness and pleasure, anytime you experience those feelings, you have subconscious motivation to repeat that action to get more happiness and pleasure, even if it's not good for you. So examples like sex, shopping, music, the smell of fresh cookies, likes on social media. If you like the casinos like my grandma does, don't tell her I said it, but she likes it. Hitting the jackpot, or some sunlight, or some exercise. This dopamine system, it's a signal, reward, behavior, repeat system. So we're going to talk about how to hack that system. And so there was this study where they took a bunch of rats, put them in a container, wherever they put rats when they do studies on them. And there was a signal. They gave the rats a signal.
Right.
There was a process of work. They pressed the button 10 times. After they pressed the button 10 times, they would get a reward. And so they did this over and over. Signal, work, reward. And they were studying over time. Once those rats started to expect that reward, as soon as the signal came on, they realized that the dopamine didn't come when they got the reward. The dopamine came when the signal came on. And that's because the anticipation of having the thing is where the dopamine comes from, which is where that feeling of pleasure and happiness come from us, not from actually having the thing. So tying that back to money, if you ever experience buyer's remorse where you're shopping, you're in the moment, it's like, oh, I want this, I need this. But when you get home, it's like, I didn't really need that. And you start to regret it. The dopamine wore off, and it wasn't from having the thing. You were excited about anticipating having the thing.
Well, I need another hit of dopamine.
Yeah.
That's just that simple. And, that plays itself out with, the smartphones.
Yes.
So
yes.
They're really geared toward that. But there's good sources of dopamine.
It's not all bad.
And there's not. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure I get a dopamine hit when I play music, and I get into this flow that I am clear is benefiting me on many levels, spiritually. I have a reduction in pain. I mean, it's an amazing elixir, so to speak. So could you distinguish between the good and bad dopamine hits? So, I'm still going a little deeper for myself in this neuroscience, in the quantum physics specifically, because I've done the work relative to what made sense for this book. And so, you wrote this book?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
It's called, could you say the title, please?
Yeah, so quantum wealth theory is the idea that we're talking about here.
Okay.
And I've developed it into a workshop series.
Oh, okay.
And so this is basically like the textbook or the workbook that I go through whenever I'm hosting these workshops.
And where can people get this?
So online on my website, I retail them individually. My company name is Ace Financial Matters. So the website name is acefm.us.
Oh, great. Okay, we'll put that in the show notes.
Awesome.
For sure. So please go ahead. By the way, my nickname in college was Ace, just so you know.
Same for me. That's where it came from. They call me Ace Deuce. I used to play basketball.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow, that's wild. Anyway, that's very peculiar.
Yeah.
This. I got it for some other reason. I played ultimate frisbee in college.
Okay.
But anyway, we digress.
Yes.
But go ahead, please.
So some natural sources of dopamine. We talked about the sunlight, standing outside and just sun gazing. If you've ever felt that
every morning,
right?
I do it every morning.
Same. Okay. So exercise. Even if it's hard, You don't enjoy it during the time. You struggle during the reps. If you do it long enough and if you allow yourself to experience the benefits, then you get the dopamine from that. You mentioned the music. I'm a big lover of music. I consider myself a connoisseur, you know, and so along with that, dancing, you know, I learned to dance like nobody's watching. I had a whole rave phase.
Oh, that's a big... I mean, did you have a breakthrough around that? Did you used to worry about how you looked when you were dancing? You
know, I feel like culturally... that's just how I grew up. You know, you post up on the wall and...
That you were free or you weren't at first?
What do you mean free?
Like freed up when you... Because a lot of people are very inhibited when they dance.
Yeah, so there were 3 milestones that allowed me to get to where I am today.
Okay.
The first one is my girlfriend at the time, she was into raves. So she introduced me to that.
Okay.
And where I'm from, we listen to hip hop music. You know, there's a certain dance style that's traditional to hip hop music. Okay. And so that's what I grew up around.
Okay.
So once I get to this rave, I see people just moving their bodies freely and not even a dance that I recognize. You know, it's just like, hey, we're feeling this and we're just going to move however we want.
Okay.
That was the first thing.
Okay.
The second time is, you know, as many people, I drink socially, you know, when I'm out. And so there were times where I would, you know, drink to get loose. It's like, oh, I'm going to go up on stage, sing karaoke. Let me take a shot, you know.
Right.
And so through a series of events, I realized that's what I was doing, using alcohol to lower my defenses, if you will.
Okay.
So that was the second one.
Okay.
And then the third one, which this is the catalyst also for what came of the quantum wealth theory. I ruptured my Achilles tendon in 2017 playing basketball.
Oh, so did Kobe Bryant, but not in the same year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I only did one. He did both of them.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's tough.
Yeah. So I'm in my cast, in my crutches for 30 days. You know, I'm leaning up against the wall, brushing my teeth, listening to my music like I do. Okay. And I remember feeling like I wanted to dance and I couldn't. I'm on one leg, hobbled. So I was like, when I get back on my 2 feet, I will not take that for granted. And I'm going to dance whenever I feel like it. I'm not going to hold back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so now you're like completely freed up?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. If I hear music, no matter where I am, what the setting is, I will move however I want.
How long did it take you to recover?
30 days in the cast. Another, I think it was like 6 weeks in a boot.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, they say it never goes back the same, like between the calf muscle.
Right.
And, you know.
What brought you to do this specifically? I mean, have you always been involved in, like, or interested in finance specifically?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question.
Okay,
because,
me too.
You know, we talk about storytelling, and I really feel like this is my life's work. You know, I was kind of guided to this.
Okay.
So growing up, my mom was a single mom with 2 kids.
Okay.
And I know now the language to describe it, but I grew up with a poverty mentality because her experience was there's not enough. We don't have enough. We can't enjoy these nice things. They can because they have it, but we can't because we don't have it. Yeah. So that was the programming that I had growing up. When I was 9 years old, I got some birthday cash from some family members. I remember going to the mailbox, coming home with my cash, being so proud to show my mom these couple $100s I got.
Nice.
And she politely told me that she was going to need to borrow my money to pay the light bill that was past due. And so, logical, understanding kid enough, I gave it to her with no resistance.
Okay.
But what I know now that experience taught me, I started to hoard money. And she looked like I was a good saver. So she was like, oh, Asia, you're good with money. You're going to go to school, learn about money, get the good job so you don't have to struggle like we did. But what I know now is I was hoarding that money because my trauma around it was that there was always going to be some outside factor to come in and take my money. And so I went to school for accounting, got my bachelor's in accounting, my master's in finance, got the good job, the corporate job, moved to Atlanta, bought my house. And so on paper, it would look like I had reached the American dream of financial success. Got her done. That was 2016, I bought that house. So the next year was when the Achilles happened, 2017, which cost me $5,000 out of pocket for that surgery. And I didn't have any savings. I had been living my best life, hanging out with my girls on the weekend, going to brunch, going out, supporting my friends, which is fine.
Right.
But what I had been ignoring for 10 years was this idea I had written down in one of my old college journals. Start a financial literacy program to teach kids about money. That was just an old nugget I had put and locked away. I had not looked at for 8 years by the time the Achilles happened. So when the Achilles happened, not only am I reflecting on my own life to realize that this technical financial literacy, this knowledge that I had, wasn't enough to have me actually making financial decisions that was going to benefit me long term. But it also made me feel that my livelihood was threatened because I had to stay home for a month, and my job, luckily they were flexible with it. But that was the moment where I literally sat up in my bed with my cast elevated and asked myself the question, what is it that I'm missing? What is it that the wealthy 1% know and do that everybody else doesn't know? Because it's not financial literacy. There's something else. And so it's all the time where I got serious about my business because I'm like, it was just a catalyst of life-changing events around that time. And so the answer to that question, what do the wealthy 1% know that everybody else is missing, is there's 3 things. Number 1 is business and tax strategy, because taxes are the number 1 expense in America. 2, life insurance. There's more than death benefit, there's living benefits. And 3 is a wealth mentality. You got to have a wealthy mindset. Seeing that so commonly and easily said, but I didn't see a lot of places where they actually explained what is a wealth mentality. How do you build it? What is it about our existing mindset that's not allowing me to reach my goals? And so that's what the quantum wealth theory is all about. What is a wealth mentality? How do you build it? What are the obstacles? And actual practices to help us reprogram, rewire, understanding neuroplasticity, that your programming is not final. It's not hardware. You can update the software on top of it to install these new beliefs that are going to help you actually reach your goals. So generally speaking, from ages 0 to 7, we were operating in a theta brain state, which just means you're in hypnosis the whole time. You soaking up everything like a sponge, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, it's just all getting programmed immediately. They learn so fast. I know y'all know. And so that's where our default programming came from, but it's not hardwired. We just got through talking about how you can still create new subconscious beliefs and new subconscious programming. This reticular activating system optimizes or creates habits, specifically subconscious habits, to optimize your energy. A great example was when you were learning to drive a car. When you first got in there, you're like, okay, hand here, hand there. This foot goes here. Okay, wait, you're looking around, you consciously having to figure out how to move this vehicle. But after a few years, you get in there, you go on the phone, you're doing your makeup and eating at the same time. Why is that? That's because your reticular activating system programmed that habit into the subconscious mind. Because you did it enough, you've done it repetitively, that you told it was important by how you treated that behavior. And so now you no longer have to consciously think about it. It is a programming for you. So you can create new subconscious programming.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I've been listening to Dr. Watkins and his podcast for years now, and I would imagine he would sum up what you're saying as consciousness.
Yes.
And so that is a critical component to anything you want to transform in your life, whether it be, with his wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, talking the other day about money scripts. It's like, yeah, I know that very well.
Sir.
My parents were not very good with money, but my wife is very good with money. So I learned a lot from her. So I've transformed money scripts and my approach, and things got very organized very quickly. So whatever the catalyst is, it can be really, really powerful. So you created this whole program for people. And when did you create this?
So the Achilles happened in 2017.
Something, right. And
I started my research.
Okay.
For 3 years, I was doing nothing but research.
Right. Oh.
I started writing this as soon as the pandemic hit.
Oh.
April of
Perfect
2020.
Time.
Perfect time.
What else is going on? Nothing.
And so I spent the better part of a year compiling all my research, putting it together.
Okay.
And then I launched it officially in 2021, June of 21.
Great.
And so I've just been hosting workshops. For the first year, I did beta workshops with my family and friends, some immediate circles. Revised it, did a 2.0, which is what we have here, the second edition.
Oh, okay.
And so now I'm officially launched as far as reaching out to cold audience and people that are not just my family and friends.
Oh, great. So, I mean, is this for all ages?
So my target audience is high school and college age students.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a couple of high schoolers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so I've done work though all the way down to 6 years old. I did a basketball camp presentation, and once I understand how to pull out some of the concepts that would be relative at that young age, even all the way up to my grandmother who's 75 and her sister, they were part of my early beta workshops.
Oh.
And just realizing that they may be at a different point in life, like they're not thinking about income generation. They're living off fixed income from retirement. And so they have different lens on, how we're talking about this stuff. But realizing how universal it is was definitely one of the boosters for me, is just getting my grandma's and my great aunt's feedback on it.
Oh, I bet that was huge. And so, judging from everything you're doing and what you're saying, this is an appropriate place for you to be at the All Black National Conference under the tutelage of Dr. Boyce Watkins for a variety of reasons. How did you hear about the conference? And I think what got you involved? I think you got involved last year. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I came across Dr. Boyce, it sounded like a similar time you did, around 2016, 2017. And I just started listening to him. His language about the corporate plantation and doing for self was something that spoke to me.
Totally.
And
I love that. He's such a master teacher. And when he uses language like the corporate plantation, there's such heavy connotations.
It's heavy. It's powerful.
It totally. And it puts things in perspective, because the way you language things and you talk about things using specific words, like instead of talking about people as slaves, talking about people as human beings that are in bondage, it's a very different mindset. And it's very subtle subconsciously to people, but it makes all the difference in terms of their perception. But anyway, go on, please.
Master teacher.
Yeah.
So I started following his work then, 2017 era. And then fast forward, we talked about when I started writing this, 2020, launched in 2021. So June of 2023, I was attending, her name is JJ Conway. She hosted a Juneteenth Legacy Conference here in Chicago.
Okay.
And it was a hybrid event where she was having multiple speakers come in and share their work that was related to Black empowerment, Black legacy building. So that was one of my first big platforms or jumps for me to share quantum wealth. Because like I told you, for the years before, I was just doing immediate circles. And so Dr. Boyce was the keynote speaker at that Juneteenth Legacy Conference. And so I had a 10-minute slot, ran through my quantum wealth spiel.
Okay.
And when I sat down, he came up to me. He was like, I love what you're doing. Let's talk more about it.
Oh, great.
Exchange contact info on the spot.
He's so encouraging and empowering.
Yes, he is. And supportive. And as a mentor, just to see how he works with other people. Because, he's had his platform and been successful in his own right for a while now. But to see him to still work with some of the newer generation of leaders who are especially in the same lane talking about money and finance is definitely admirable and appreciated.
And also talking about actually really empowering Black people in this country. And he's dealt with a lot of adversity.
Yes.
I mean, he is got a serious backbone, and you got to be tough to deal with the nonsense.
Yes.
Because, as he would say, well, if you're too Black, I'm just paraphrasing, that you will be vilified, you will be banned, people will come after you for sure if you're authentic to your purpose.
Yes.
Which is, news to some, but not.
I was about to say, we've seen it before.
Yeah,
so
it's the same old thing. But a lot of people, that would be like, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then he makes a lot of distinctions in that regard. But he obviously liked what you're doing and then invited you to come to the conference.
Yeah. So from that, we had a virtual conversation that he streamed on his platform.
Oh.
And then on there.
Oh, he had you on one of his programs?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Oh,
his
great.
YouTube channel.
Oh, great.
And so from that conversation, he invited me to ABNC last year, which was in Atlanta and very convenient because I live in Atlanta.
All Black National Conference, just for our listening audience, ABNC.
Yes,
Yeah,
All
ahead.
Black National Conference. And so attended that October of last year, 23.
Okay.
And then I was on a panel about generational wealth because I told you I started about wanting to speak to the kids and the youth. And so just being able to speak to that gap, because when we talk about financial literacy, we're talking about the adults learning and building. But if we're still not teaching the kids, then we're just going to be starting over whenever it's time to transfer the succession plan.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated that opportunity to speak to the gap in making sure that we're bringing the kids in on the conversation because they don't teach it in schools.
Totally.
It's a taboo topic, apparently. You're not supposed to ask your parents how much they make or what they spend. So at what point are the kids supposed to learn?
Yeah, they don't, and it's purposeful. I mean, a lot of our I could go on and on, but
we did go on and on earlier.
A lot of our educational system is unfortunately catered toward, being good employees, as opposed to having freedom, like real freedom. And it's this goes to anybody. I mean, Black people have a very particular and specific experience in this country that started with a terrifying kidnapping from another country to this country. And, that's a whole separate thing. However, this really, relates to any American citizen that if you don't understand how to manage money and have a certain literacy to navigate this terrain, I mean, you're going to be at the whim of others and you're never going to have freedom because if you don't have a capital base, good luck.
Yeah. In this capitalistic society.
Yeah, it's harsh. It's harsh. And, what's interesting is, and I would concur with Dr. Watkins' philosophy about capitalism. He quickly will say he's not a capitalist and it has its issues, particularly when it's left unchecked. And it's a very, very harsh system for sure. No question about it. And we don't really have what most people think of as a free market enterprise in this country. I mean, we have crony capitalism where there's, a lot of power in the hands of the few. And, we got the outfits like BlackRock buying up a lot of homes in this country that is despicable and should be stopped. And anybody who really speaks out against it, tends to be dubbed a conspiracy theorist or whatever. I could go on and on about that, but I think you know what I mean. But that's really, really great. And I mean, this must be an inspiring thing for you to be a part of because this is a part of a movement that is shifting perspective here. And there's a conference of fairly like-minded people. Of course, as we saw in the political panel recently, there's a variety of opinions that are, hotly contested sometimes, but it is ultimately, I think, one big loving family, if I could use that.
Yes, I love that.
So, but this, this must be a real breath of fresh air to be here for you and to be able to, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, evangelize this type of perspective of financial literacy.
Yes. And you said it just now and you said it earlier. This type of environment shifting perspective because so much of our society as a whole, the umbrella of, is just be specific, American society for conversation's sake. Under that umbrella, we, of course, have different experiences, whether it's religion, sexual orientation, socioeconomic, race. There's probably different experiences, there's different experiences for the different breakouts, if you will. But overall, there's this programming that top-down umbrella has given us. And if we talk about the money piece, you said it. The school systems were designed to create factory workers.
Yeah.
They weren't designed to create owners and people who can liberate themselves financially.
Yeah, totally. I mean, for sure. And the programming is very heavy and it's really insidious and most people don't even realize it's there. And I mean, there's a reason, I don't know if Dr. Watkins said this, but when I heard this phrase where there's a reason why they call it television programming. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, whoa, that's really heavy. I mean, there's something very, and that's, I mean, that that delves into the subconscious mind. And there's, I remember the debates over music when I was coming up and how powerful it is. And some people say, oh, it's just music. Well, there's no such thing as just music. I mean, there's a reason why hip hop culture shifted at a certain point, and there's a lot of speculation as to why. I mean, to some it's pretty obvious. To some it's like, what are you talking about? But, there's a shift in this type of thinking where there was a lot of hip hop culture from groups like Public Enemy that were speaking some very bold truths. And then to some of the artists we have in current day that are, not really doing that. And I remember when I was talking to Dr. Watkins on our podcast fairly recently, and I talked about Diddy's his television station network, Revolt TV, and the name was like, it sounded like a good idea, but it was anything but it. It was just a regurgitation of this culture that Black people are fed that's really unhealthy in a variety of ways, which is unfortunate. I mean, there's a lot of American culture that's, really unhealthy, food and but
the top down umbrella.
Yeah, but there's a specific program for Black people that it's so obvious when you're tapped into it, but if you're not, it's just, people have no clue if they're outside of this this perspective, including for Black people.
I'm glad. That's exactly what the thought that came to me is. Sometimes you could be so far into it that you don't even realize what it is. In the community as a large, I'm talking about all races, but particularly our race, heart disease is one of the leading killers in our community. They say chronic stress over time is a leading contributor to heart disease. And financial challenges are typically a chronic stressor, especially when passed down over generations. So one might conclude that financial challenges are the number one killer in our community. So when we talk about our bodies and the importance of just health and being here to enjoy the work that we work so hard for and the money we build and the wealth we build in, that's one way to look at why it's important to be healthy. But also when we talk about the effects of stress on our body and just deciding in the moment to not let those emotions that come up drive you, and you looking at the account or you looking at your outlook and like, man, I know I have these goals, but I'm not feeling it right now. My parents never did it. I never seen nobody around me do it. Can I do it?
Yes, you can.
Yes, I can. And we got to make sure we're programming ourselves to do that, especially when we have those conflicting thoughts.
It's interesting. I said, Dr. Watkins, I would imagine that there's a lot of Black people that are not ready and prepared to hear what you have to say. And he's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I get hate all from a variety of people, both in a variety of arenas and from a variety of backgrounds and perspectives. And he said, but what's really great is that he's never... refreshing about him is that he's never thinks that he's got the way and the only way to think. He's like, this is something that I'm putting forth, and if this resonates with you and it provides something for you, great, and if it doesn't, that's fine. He's really unattached.
Yes.
And coming from a place of, being peaceful in that way, and very astute about what he's talking about but also mixes that with a wonderful sense of humility, which allows him to listen.
Yeah, I think that's a part of his brilliance. He's a great listener.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wonderful teacher. I mean, listening, what a lot of people, in my humble opinion, a lot of people don't realize is that a really critical component to actually having thoughtful, meaningful conversations that can actually transform a situation, it starts with the listening.
Yes, sir.
Because you can't hear, nobody's going to hear what you have to say until they feel heard.
Yes.
And it's like, you got to start with that. And so, even beyond your triggers, and that's why what Dr. Alicia Watkins was talking about, living in a peaceful body and not being so at the mercy of your triggers is really a powerful place to be, Her
presentation was great.
Yeah. Oh my God. Were you talking about the ones on money scripts the other day? Yeah.
Psychology of money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's great. So now how many seminars do you do at the All Black National is it conference or convention?
I believe it's convention.
Sorry, All Black National Convention.
Yes.
Did I say that before? I think so.
I think we've been switching back and forth.
Really? But it's convention, just for the record. Sorry, Dr.
Yes.
Watkins, if I misspoke. Anyway.
Yes.
So how often are you presenting at this conference and the last one?
Yeah. So the last one, I just did the panel. I was a part of a group panel.
Oh, okay.
And then this year, I did a kids session yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And
for
then,
what age group?
The age group was ranging from 8 all the way up to 14.
Oh, wow. How was the response?
Amazing. Every time I work with the younger group, I'm amazed at their engagement and their interest in what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And so just helping them recognize the difference between conscious thought and subconscious. And we just did a little exercise, like consciously you're looking at me, listening to me, but subconsciously your heart is beating and your body is feeling the clothes on yourself.
Okay.
You didn't recognize that was happening until I just pointed it out and brought it into your conscious awareness.
That's true. I did not.
And so these small bite-sized ideas, because also they don't have the programming we have yet. They're still fresh.
Right.
So when we talk about money beliefs and what you don't know that you believe and are acting on, they don't have that yet. So I don't have to speak so much about the default programming that prevents us from learning new things. I could just get straight to the wealth mentality and adding the programming that's actually going to help them.
Wow. Oh, that's heavy. Yeah, kids
Yeah.
Amazing. They don't have that filter on their perspective already, which is really, really powerful. Yeah, that's really, really interesting because as you move forward in life, you get these filters and then all of a sudden you got to deconstruct that. So, are you going to offer this for adults? Yeah.
So even though my target audience is, like I said, the high school and college, B2B is my sales strategy. And so that's business to business selling. And as opposed to business to consumer,
right.
B2C selling individually. So working with colleges, campus activities, nonprofits to get in front of their audience. Because frankly, the people who I want to help and serve, I'm not expecting them to pay me because, especially with some of the beliefs that we have, it could be a challenge in itself just to get them to purchase and buy and go through the program. So I want to get in with the institutions in order to present the material to my audience.
Oh, that's a good idea. What type of institutions do you think? Because, the first thing that came to mind, but then a hesitation in my mind came up right after that, which is HBCUs. And HBCUs, as I've learned a lot from Dr. Watkins, have a lot of strings attached to them.
Yeah. So right now, I'm niching down further into the places that have the least amount of red tape.
Right.
And so public schools is not on that list right now.
No.
Even when I say college institutions like HBCUs, I'm not necessarily looking to get on your official curriculum in the College of Business, but perhaps campus activities or the Greek organizations want to come in and host, some workshops for them.
Yeah, maybe you could fly under the radar so people don't really fully understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
That hold the power because, say for instance with an HBCU, they get a lot of dollars that are outside the Black community and tied to the government structure. And so, this type of thinking isn't really in line with what they want for American citizens as a whole, particularly for Black America. They don't want people thinking for themselves and having financial freedom. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And so that's why I feel like it's a Trojan horse kind of concept, financial literacy. Depending on who we're talking to, it's financial education.
Yeah. Seems innocuous, friendly, good.
Financial education.
How can you put that down?
Money mindset. If you want to go a little deeper.
Okay.
I
think that's good enough. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, what else would you like to share, or what else should we know about this? This sounds really great.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate you for taking the time to have this conversation with me.
Sure.
You and I, even before we were recording, we connected on some other things, but
yeah, we sure did.
Yeah, but here on the record, specifically about this, I just really appreciate having this space to speak with somebody like you who does have the perspective that you have, because it's not something I get to do all the time anyways.
Yeah, it's evolving.
Yeah.
It's evolving and shifting. Well, thank you for being on the show, Asia. It was a real pleasure and really helpful in broadening all of our perspectives, particularly with financial literacy. And could you please let us know how to get a hold of you and where to get a hold of this again one more time?
Yes, sir. So I would appreciate some follows on IG. I'm building my personal brand.
That's Instagram for all you older folks.
Instagram. You can find me at Asia, ASIA K .247.
Say that one more time.
Asia K .247.
Okay.
And my website is www.acefm. That's ACEFM.us.
Okay.
And yeah, you can LinkedIn, Asia Kuykendall. On Google, you can get to some places.
And how do you spell your last name?
My last name is spelled Kuykendall.
And where does that name come from?
It's Dutch.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the show. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to subscribe to hear more compelling shows on Rhythm of Life and keep an eye out for our upcoming series of how we as a society oftentimes incentivize all the wrong behavior here in the United States. We see this in the healthcare industry, in the media, and in our educational systems, to name a few of the fields we will be covering. If you'd like to check out the Black Business School and save money on their wide array of excellent courses, there's a link below in the show notes. And they have wonderful courses for investing, for wealth creation, for starting your own business, real estate, as well as selling stock options. And they also have wonderful courses for children starting at the toddler age all the way up through teenage years to get them started early with their proper mindset for building wealth as they move forward in their journey. And if you're really committed to taking your health to the next level, I highly recommend Purium. Their products are incredible. I've been taking them for years and give them to my kids. They provide increased energy levels, improved digestion, deeper sleep, weight loss transformation, cleansing transformation. You can create lean muscle. Anything you want to do with your health, they have excellent products, because what you put in your body really, really matters. We use Can't Beat This in our home, the beet powder that gives natural energy boosts. And my 2 teenage athlete kids use it on a regular basis, and I feel good about giving them these products because most energy drinks are horrible. Anyway, there's an affiliate link down below, or you can just type in the code R&L, that's RANDL. And you can save money by using our link, $50 off your first purchase. And also, if you purchase more than $200, you get a 25% discount. Highly recommend Purium. If you have a moment, please leave a rating and review so more people can hear about us, and share about Rhythm of Life on social media, and like us on Facebook. Thanks for listening. I'm Steve Ordower.
This has been a Rhythm and Light production.